Back here on Sports Just Cuz, just finished getting into a little NFL Week 11. Exciting week, a lot of fun things going on, and we delved a little bit into the playoff race at this point. We're going to continue that. We're gonna hit the NFC West, and the Cardinals, they're sitting atop the NFC West with a 9-1 record, the best in the NFL. And the Cardinals had another win yesterday. And this is a team that, when I watch this team, it's a team that finds a way to win the ball game. They don't have the most talent in the league. They have a very good defense, but they're playing with a third string quarterback. They find a way to win.
You're absolutely right, and they win low-scoring games. They're the type of team who they're different than most of the other NFL teams. They're the type of team that they want their defense out there in the clutch situations, the final minutes of the game to make the big play instead of the offense. Most NFL teams would rather have their quarterback out there. He's the leader or the running back. But no, this team wants their secondary out there. They want their pass rush to get at the quarterback. And the Cardinals have the best defense in football in my eyes, and that's why they're 9-1.
9-1. They had that win yesterday over the Lions. We just finished talking about their chances to take the Packers. But yeah, yesterday in the game against the Lions, I mean, it was just, as you said, it was another low-scoring game. But forget about any other team like the Seahawks having the best defense in the NFL or any team like that, because at this point, the Cardinals have been really working playing that card well, and I can't say enough about Stanton and what he has done in place of Carson Palmer. He's been a great game manager, but yet he's had the big throws when he's needed.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Went 21 for 32 yesterday.
Exactly.
And you know what's funny about Stan, too? Whenever I see Stan get in the game, he doesn't make any conservative throws.
Right.
He's getting in the game. He does a play action, rolls out, throws it deep to Malcolm Floyd or Michael Floyd. Malcolm Floyd plays on the San Diego Chargers.
Right.
And or Larry Fitzgerald. They have a lot of guys downfield who he just throws the vert to. I mean, they had a big pass in the beginning of the game against the Lions yesterday. Every time I see Stan play, he tries to just throw the ball downfield, and the guy has a lot of courage and bravery to go up against the Lion defense, who's actually really good too.
It is, yeah. And, the Cardinals, I mean, we talked about the possibility of having the Packers in the NFC Championship game, but I would not be surprised if the Cardinals, met them there. Because, this is a team. Look at what happened last year. The Seahawks wound up in the Super Bowl. They easily had the best defense in the NFL last year. When it comes down to it, Sean likes to say, defense win games. Defense does really win games.
I agree with you on that. I just think, they had a capable quarterback in Russell Wilson. Drew Stan's playing really good in the regular season, but the playoffs is a whole different element, a whole different animal.
Yeah,
right. Especially a guy who is very inexperienced, has been in the league a couple of years, was a backup for many ball clubs, comes here. The regular season is different. There's not as much pressure, especially since the Cardinals are doing so good. Bruce Arians doesn't have as many problems with Drew Stan taking those chances downfield or making some of these throws. But in the playoffs, you're going to see the play calling, a lot of different things going on. And I don't think the Cardinals will have what it takes. Especially losing Carson Palmer is a big loss. I think that Russell Wilson last year, even the Giants, when they won the Super Bowls because of that defense, the Ravens, all of these teams in the last couple of years have won because of defense, but they had capable quarterbacks in Eli, Joe Flacco, Russell Wilson. Not the best, but they're capable. So Drew Stan does not have that.
You think there's a choke period coming?
There is. And Drew Stan, you'll see it.
Okay.
You'll see it.
All right. So the Cardinals. What was that, Sean?
Oh no, I just said maybe.
Maybe it'll be a choke period. It would be great if I don't know what Armand is laughing viciously at. What he's laughing very viciously off.
I love Sean.
We all love Sean. I think we all love Sean.
You gotta love Sean.
You gotta love Sean.
Everybody loves Sean. Of course, everybody hates Sean.
We look at it. Everybody loves Raymond. Everybody loves Sean. I'm pitching that show. It's coming out next September. Everybody loves Sean. So, in the rest of that division, the 49ers, they did beat the Giants yesterday. They're sitting at 6-4. I just don't think that this team has it this year. I don't think the 49ers, I mean, I feel like, the way Colin Kaepernick stormed into the scene wasn't even the starter that year that they went to the Super Bowl, and the way that he just came on and he took that team and led them. I mean, I could almost see possibly Kaepernick sort of taking that team and trying to do something and salvage the rest of the season. I mean, it hasn't been terrible, but 6-4, I think they'd like to be better than that right now. But then there's another part of me that just says Kaepernick is not going to be able to do it.
Well, yeah, I mean, right now they're done. First of all, the Seahawks and the 49ers, they have to start looking wild card. They have to start thinking wild card. They're 3 games behind the Cardinals with about 6 games left. So your chances are not looking likely. They have to think wild card. They're trailing the Packers and the Cowboys by 1 game. So the problem with the 49ers, and I think you're right, they have all the pieces to be much better. One, they lost Patrick Willis. Patrick Willis has been the captain of this team, this defense. He's the reason why they went to the Super Bowl a couple of years ago and the reason why they went to the NFC Championship last year. So the loss of him is vital. Navarro Bowman has returned, and Navarro Bowman is the second captain. Aldon Smith's been reinstated. So, I mean, there's a lot of good things going for the 49ers, but the problem is Colin Kaepernick has been the most sacked quarterback in the league this year. And we always talk about this. Colin Kaepernick's a mobile quarterback. He's not a pocket passer. He likes to get out in the flats and make throws across the field. And he can't right now because he's the most sacked. And that's the problem with the 49ers. If they go against a defensive powerhouse, I mean, on Thanksgiving night, they play the Seattle Seahawks. That's going to be a great
That's an interesting game.
And honestly, that is the game. Whoever loses that game is eliminated.
I mean, that could very well may be. I mean, you see, now the 49ers came back into the season looking for a little redemption, especially on the Seahawks. And I think that, it's been a surprise because the Cardinals have taken over that division. The Seahawks have played not anything close to what we thought they were going to do this year. They've been They
look horrible.
They look bad. They look
real bad.
But the question is, when it comes down to it, comparing the Seahawks and the 49ers side by side, it's literally up in the air at this point, but I feel that the Seahawks may have the edge on the 49ers when it comes down to it. Because
you think the Seahawks are going to steal that game?
I think that
in San Francisco.
I've seen Russell Wilson at his low points, and I've seen Russell Wilson at his high points. But there's something about the way Russell Wilson plays the game that I think he has more in his favor. He has it more in his favor to beat Colin Kaepernick, to play a better game than Colin Kaepernick.
I would agree.
Russell Wilson has magical moments. I don't understand how he gets away with some of these zone read options where he fakes the ball to the running back and he gets by. He's so stealth in the way he operates on the football field. It's almost like he's like a secret sorcerer or something. You know what I mean? It's like he's like Harry Potter out there. He's put on the cloak and he's gone. I mean, Colin Kaepernick can't put on the cloak because he's the most sacked quarterback. So
and he's too big. He's a big guy.
Yeah, exactly. I think the Seahawks defense, the pass rush is a lot better. The 49ers don't sack the quarterback as much. And right now, the front seven of the Seahawks has been actually the more stronger point. The 12th man, Legion of Boom, the secondary has not been as good. Richard Sherman needs to put his money where his mouth is because that guy... I'm sorry. I don't like Richard Sherman. I really don't. You want to talk about the guy with his antics? Who is Mike Francesa? Why does he watch Richard Sherman if he thinks Gronk's bad?
I mean, we were just talking about that. I mean, I feel like we gang up on Richard Sherman a lot on this show.
He deserves it.
He's
Earl Thomas.
We're talking about
Earl Thomas is the leader of that Legion of Boom.
Cam Chancellor.
And Cam Chancellor. Yeah. Those guys are worth the money.
They are, but you can't see that whole Legion of Boom. Fine, tag that phrase, but for last year, fine. But you cannot keep that phrase if it's not working.
No,
that gets erased. That just goes bye bye.
The real Legion of Boom?
Nobody's gonna remember the Legion of Boom.
It's the Arizona Cardinals right now. Patrick Peterson, Tyrod Matthew, Antonio Cromartie. Those guys are playing like the Legion of Boom. The funny thing about Sherman too. Sherman's been in the league a couple seasons, but besides that deflection he had on denying Michael Crabtree in a championship game.
That was about it.
And that post-game interview, that's where everybody discovered Richard Sherman.
It really was. He actually is a very intelligent guy because he basically marketed himself for years to come based on that one interview.
Yeah.
That one interview.
that brought him promotion deals. That brought him,
It wasn't even that good of a play.
It wasn't.
Honest.
It was actually a bad throw.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, big play.
It was a big
No,
play.
it was
yeah.
a big play. I mean,
Nonetheless.
you had to give him the benefit of the doubt. But, I mean, there are guys like, if you watch Patrick Peterson, if you watch Joe Hayden, if you watch Darrell Reeves, Aqib Talib, these guys make, Brett Grimes, they make some spectacular plays in the secondary that I don't see Richard Sherman making. Richard Sherman always has the easy assignment because what opposing teams do is they put the best receiver on the opposite
other
side
side.
where Byron Maxwell is
Right.
because Richard Sherman's basically a prima
Plays
donna.
one
He
side
can't
of
play
the
both
field.
sides.
I think that's one of the greatest points you ever made because the fact that he plays only one side of the field because it really opens up your eyes to that fact right
It
there.
does.
They always play the best receiver on the opposite side. So I mean, there's that. Look, I think they're both very common ground teams right now. They're both standing on a very equal level.
It's up in the air.
Yeah, I think it's very much up in the air. Let's move over to the AFC. We talked a lot about the NFC. Unless you have any more NFC comments.
Well, do you want to hit the NFC South?
Go ahead, we'll hit the NFC South. My co-host / producer wants to hit the NFC South, so we will hit the NFC South.
I mean, right now that's a pretty pathetic division.
That's why I skipped over it.
I mean, but you gotta talk about it. I mean,
you talk about the Saints and the fact that Drew Brees and the Saints are at 4-6.
Yeah, I mean, no one saw that coming right in. I mean,
The
the Falcons are actually
they're both at 4-6.
They're the divisional leader right now. They're 4-6, but they have the tiebreaker over the Saints.
Right, and even worse
Carolina.
off the Panthers. I mean, Cam Newton.
I know.
Look, I mean, that team should not be 3-7 right now.
You know, Cam Newton's
Yeah.
throwing a pick in his last 7 games.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's not a good stat to have. The Saints though, I saw that frustration from this team all the way back from the game they were up. It might have been, I don't think it was
You're
week
talking
one.
about
It
the
was week or
Colston
two.
fumble, right?
Marcus Colston.
You always talk about
I always talk about this, right?
You do, because no, it's a good point.
Smashed his helmet in the ground after that fumble, and I think everything from then just went downhill. I mean, honestly, they have no defense. You've mentioned, between Rob Ryan and he's not doing much with that defense.
I know, and Jarius Burder was dealing injuries. He was a big acquisition from Buffalo. They expected a lot of big things to have Jarius Bird. He's one of the best secondary players in the league. I just think, their defense is okay, especially against the run, but they get killed by the pass. They're absolutely horrible against the pass. They can't stop the pass. And there's certain throws. I feel like the Saints are always playing from behind. I mean, they lost. They were up 18 against Detroit, and they found a way to lose a couple weeks ago. I mean, there's some games they just give away. They don't look like the same team. I mean, they were horrible last year too. This team they have all these expectations, and they can never rise to the occasion.
Well, you see, now the thing about it is Drew Brees, up until this season, has had himself in the category of the most elite quarterbacks in the NFL. That's mentioning Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, basically Drew Brees. I mean, that's basically your 1, 2, 3. I don't know if it's different for you.
No, yeah, Drew. I would put Aaron Rodgers there too.
Well, no, but exactly.
Yeah,
if I had
they
a top
play longer
five,
than Aaron Rodgers.
if I had a top 5, it would be Brees, Manning. Well,
Brady, yeah.
in the order: Brady, Manning, Brees, Rodgers, Luck.
Yeah.
Something like that. Based on, today's, you have to judge upon the experience and then sort of their resumes at the same time as their skill. I feel like there should almost be a list of, sort of like career-wise best quarterbacks in the game today and skill-wise best quarterbacks in the game today. Because skill-wise, I think I would have a different list. I think I would have Andrew Luck. I think that I would have maybe Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
I think that I would have, guys like that to replace a couple of those guys. But Drew Brees, is it his age? I mean, could it be the fact that he's getting a little bit older? And he hasn't been same Drew Brees?
I think the problem with Drew Brees too. He's had a lot of question. When I watch the Saints play, he makes a lot of questionable throws. That thing that goes against Drew Brees that Tom Brady and Peyton Manning never had to worry about is Tom Brady and Peyton Manning are pretty physical guys. They're pretty tall. They're both over 6 feet. Drew Brees is a small dude. I think he's 5'8". He can't really see over his offensive line. He sort of makes throws off his back foot a lot. I don't like that about Drew Brees. I mean, he turns over the ball frequently sometimes, and that's the only thing that separates him from Manning and Brady. And, I mean, as it goes, I think the Saints are still great. I mean, I think that they're going to win the division somehow. They'll find a way. The Falcons have way too many problems on defense. They are absolutely atrocious on defense. They can't win on the road. Neither can the Saints. But I think the Saints, they have a better offense. They have a great coach in Sean Payton. I mean, the Panthers are absolutely horrible. I mean, they're only a half a game out, but the Panthers have nothing good going for them. They keep continuously getting blown out. Yeah. I mean, they lost a nail-biter to the Falcons. Cam Newton is not the Cam Newton we've all expected him to become. You want to talk about Cam Newton? Go.
I'm just saying, you don't feel like he should get better pieces around him? You think that attributes to the fact of how he's looked thus far?
Well, I mean, Steve Smith left in the offseason. Steve Smith's been there for 10 years. I mean, he's played his whole career there. He won a bigger contract. They said no, he's getting old. They went out and they drafted Kelvin Benjamin, who's going to be an absolute stud.
Bro. Yes.
And they have Greg Olsen, who's a suitable tight end, but you're absolutely right. They don't have a good slot receiver. They don't have a good, Kelvin Benjamin's more of a red zone target. He's 6'5". He's got a lot of size.
Yeah.
Big, broad shoulders, big hands. They don't have a speedy guy who could make. They don't have an Antonio Brown or an Odell Beckham. They don't have someone who could stretch the floor. Kelvin Benjamin's not going to stretch the field. You know what I mean? So I think that's a good point, though, Sean. Very good point. I mean, I would. This is a good wide receiver class coming up. So I mean, you can go out and draft another speedy wide receiver. But it's a good point.
No, it's a very good. I agree with Sean. I think you're absolutely right. I agree with you. I think the Saints will find a way to somehow win the division because I think the Panthers are just out of it at this point, and I don't think the Falcons are meant to win anything. I mean, the way the Falcons. I mean, the way they look. So we touched upon. Did we miss any NFC? I don't believe so. I think we hit.
Well, no, just the NFC East, but we don't need to talk about it. I think the Eagles will win it.
Well, the NFC East, I mean, the
Eagles and Cowboys.
Sort of heartbroken that I have no team to sort of rest my passion in right now. I mean, the Giants lost 5 straight. I mean, I actually had faith in the Giants and the offseason moves they made this year to somehow put together at least over 500 seasons.
You like the offseason moves they made?
Look, they picked up Rashad Jennings, which hasn't been a big help because he's been hurt a lot of the time. But they needed a running back. They drafted Odell Beckham Jr., which
was the best move.
He's been very good. They got Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie, which improved. They needed to improve their defense.
He's a suitable corner.
Aside from that, I do, because who else were they going to really get out on the market? They hit each area of need. They needed a running back. Brown wasn't cutting it last year. They haven't had a good duo since Bradshaw and Jacobs. They needed to draft a wide receiver.
The worst move was not going after Akeem Nicks. Letting him go was absolutely beyond me. Akeem Nicks he's a big receiver. They don't have
money.
You know what the problem is with the Giants? When the Giants are in the red zone, they love to throw the fade route. You will see it constantly. They did it again this week.
Yeah.
They do it 3 times in a row. The Giants are big believers in the fade route. Akeem Nicks is a great guy for the fade route.
I mean, it's a good point, but really, what did Nicks do last year? He did absolutely nothing.
I mean, he had a down year, but the year I don't like to always bring this up, but the year they won the Super Bowl, Akeem Nicks had his best year. He had over 1,000 receiving yards. He was actually really good.
He did. It was the duo of him and Cruz that really carried that offense. But
the problem with last year, you can't really base it off last year because last year the Giants changed their whole offensive. I don't want to go. I feel like the Giants are always our main conversation, but the problem is
we won't delve in as much as we usually do.
The problem is the Giants changed their whole offensive repertoire last year. They went through a whole different look. Ben McAdoo came in, and then they went through the run game. They sort of abandoned Eli Manning. The Giants organization is the reason why Eli Manning has dropped off. They have developed Eli Manning horribly.
Yeah,
they're very inconsistent with the way they treat Eli Manning, the way they give him his selection of throws. They almost like to keep Eli battered up in a shell. Even on 3rd down and 10, I've seen the Giants inside their own 30-yard line. Most teams are going to obviously try and get their first down. The Giants will give up. They're like, you know what? We don't want to risk an interception. We don't want to risk a throw, and Eli will hand the ball off. That's horrible. I mean, you're giving your quarterback, you're basically giving him saying that like he's pathetic and he's not a leader and he can't get the job done. Right. And I think the Giant organization is really bad at the way they have developed Eli Manning.
I mean, listen. There's no argument that Eli Manning is pretty much, like you always said. It starts and ends with Eli Manning for the Giants, at least.
I think it also starts and ends with Ben Ben
Ben
McAdoo.
McAdoo.
I always get him confused with Bob
Well,
McAdoo,
yeah,
who played in the NBA.
The Giants haven't had good offensive
They have.
coordination.
Spagnuolo was great. Steve Spagnuolo, he went to the Rams. I don't know
Right.
where he is. I think he still might be on the Rams. Steve Spagnuolo was part of that Super Bowl team.
Right. Since
Spagnuolo.
those years that they won the Super Bowl.
And Ben McAdoo is the reason why Eli Manning has become so bad.
That's what I'm saying. They haven't had good offensive coordination since Spagnuolo, and it's unfortunate because they tried to switch everything over, and the switch didn't work. Now where do you go? That's the question.
You go back.
Now where do you go?
Next year you fire him. You bring back someone who's an air attack offensive coordinator. So you want to throw the ball down the field, move the chains, abandon the run game because the Giants are horrible at the run game. The last time I remember the Giants being good at the run game was when they had Bradshaw. That one year he ran for 1,000 yards. Other than that, Brandon Jacobs, all these other guys that they've had throughout the years. David Wilson, they thought he used to be good. The guy used to fumble all the time. They've not had any good running backs since
Tiki
then.
Barber. Brandon Jacobs was good.
Yeah,
He was
Barber's
good.
going way back.
Ahmad Bradshaw was good.
Yeah, I'm talking
When
about
they-
in recent years. I mean,
in
Bradshaw
recent
was
years-
like 5 years ago, 6 years ago.
Well, yeah. I mean, in recent.
I mean, not
years,
Bradshaw, Barber.
Well, yeah, I'm talking about Barber. I'm saying if you want to go back to the last good running game they had, I believe it was Jacobs and Bradshaw.
But and besides the Giants with the Super, that 11 team was so. I would get scared watching the Giants play if I was the opposed team because I thought the Giants were such an air dynamic team. Whenever I watched the Giants play, I thought they were top 5 offensive scoring teams. I thought Eli Manning. I actually drafted Eli Manning on my fantasy team that year. I thought
I
Eli
wouldn't
Manning was
hesitate.
top 8 quarterbacks in the
Yeah.
league.
Absolutely.
He threw for he threw for like 40 touchdowns that year. Eli had a great statistical year. I mean, he had a great quarterback rating. He was unbelievable.
Unfortunately, what's going to happen is now they're going to be placed in a very interesting situation when if they continue to go badly this season and when the draft comes up, having it put in their face to possibly draft a quarterback.
No, they wouldn't. This is
I
not,
don't
first of all, it's
I-
not
I
even a
don't-
quarterback draft class.
Right.
So I would not
I mean,
do that.
I mean, the best shot they would have is maybe Marcus Mariota.
Not
or,
even. He's not. Not worth it.
Yeah, but exactly. So it's going to be. I mean, hopefully But another thing is they have to think about the future, and I think that Eli does have a couple of more years left in him. It's just
Actually, the way the Giant organization's going, I think Mariota actually would be a good way because they're a run football team now. They can start to do the read option with Mariota. Mariota's a guy who can do that. They're not a. That's the whole thing Ben McAdoo's trying to do. He's trying to change the whole Giant organization, the whole offensive scheme. And someone like Mariota is actually a better fit for the scheme because Eli is not good for this type of scheme. What?
I wasn't going to say anything, but you very you eccentricated the word scheme. It's scheme.
I can't say the word.
It's scheme.
I can't say it. Scheme.
I didn't even realize that.
That was funny. I actually wasn't going to say anything until the very last
Or
thing
why
you
couldn't
said.
you tell me?
They were like, they changed the whole offensive
Well, it's on
scheme.
the air.
That was funny.
I'm sorry.
Oh man! On that note,
You
we're gonna
understand
take a
what I'm
break.
saying,
We're gonna
though,
take a
right?
break here
Take a break.
on sports, just because I gotta recover from that one. We will be right back here with some more football, some more anything, sports talk, whatever we'll be moving on to. I don't know what's next, but you want to stick around and find out.
Scheme.
1977, Game 6 of the World Series. Reggie Jackson belts 3 home runs on 3 swings, leading the Yankees to their first championship since 1962.
Goodbye.